All right, we're just about 3 minutes after the hour. We'll probably have some more people trickling in, but welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join Erica and myself on what we hope will be an interesting, entertaining, and educational hour. So the goal of today's webinar really is to demystify and simplify creating and implementing a test plan. We're at the beginning of the year. Eric and I have spent a lot of years together working on test and learn strategies for a variety of clients, and we're really excited to take you through some of those learnings today. Hopefully help give you some inspiration to kick off your year. We've got a lot of real world examples that we'll be sharing from some of the large brands that we work on, including American Heart Association, Marriott, HP, See's Candies, and some others. We wanted to really simplify this so that you can see that these really easy, simple tests that you can implement tomorrow can have surprisingly big results. So excited to get started. So our hope again is that you're going to walk away with some ideas that you can start implementing in your channels tomorrow. Just a kind of housekeeping thing, there is a Q&A button at the bottom. So any questions that you think of as we're going through this, feel free to type them in, and then we'll have some time at the end that we can get to answer some of those questions. And if for some reason that we don't, we'll follow up with you guys directly. So again, thanks for joining us. Just to introduce myself, my name is Jen Tabal. I have been with Data Axle now for about 8.5 years, but working in content marketing for about 25, I think I'm approaching 25 now. Data Axle is a large data company. Erica's going to give you some background on that. I lead our content marketing team within the Axle agency. So I'll turn it over to Erica so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining. So I've been at Data Axle for about 7 years and in the marketing industry for over 20. As a strategist, we are partnering with our clients to support them with a variety of ways, ranging from developing campaign strategies, conducting marketing assessments, to building personas and providing quarterly and monthly business reviews.
All right, so let's start with an agenda. As I mentioned, we'll give you a brief overview of Data Axle in case some of you aren't familiar with our company. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of testing. If you're here, you probably realize already how important it is. But we want this to be fun and interactive, so we're going to play a little game too. We've got 15 examples of tests that we've ran. So we'll give you a bit of a background of what the business problem was for each of those. What our hypothesis was, and then we'll test your knowledge and gut instincts and see if you can guess the winner, and then we'll share those results. Finally, we're going to wrap it up with some tips on how to get started implementing or augmenting your own test plan. So Erica, take it away.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the overview of Data Axle. So the essence of Data Axle, of course, is our data. And what's special about that is that we are and have been compilers of both business and consumer data for over 50 years. And so what that means is we actually have hundreds of people right here in the US who spend their day gathering and verifying data. And, you know, with a company that's invested so much in data like we are, you better know how to use it. So we're going to walk you through that today. So this is a slide where we're just showing some of the brands that we work with across different industries, from B2C, B2B, and nonprofit. Hundreds of our clients across different verticals, but we're just showing you a few of them here. We have Fortune 100 companies as well that we work with. And our client relationships really span many years, and the average span is about 12 years. So this slide is actually pretty interesting to me. It's understanding the whole person. And so I'm going to walk you through how we do that at Data Axle, because we're not really painting a broad stroke about our audiences where you would say like millennials behave this way. Instead, we're really working to build that whole person. So getting to understand what the customer is doing, of course, their demographics, but also understanding what are their purchase behaviors in their personal life. Are they a decision maker at work? And what do they care about? And so with that together, all of those things, building a both professional and personal profile of that customer, it's really going to help marketers just create more engaging content and really help drive goals that we have. So instead of just saying like Jane Doe is a millennial. So we really work to use our data to really understand that whole person. And then we have our blueprint here, which is our blueprint for success, where we partner with our different clients to help them acquire, to grow, and retain their customers. And we do that with providing data solutions and marketing solutions. And we have it really in this phased approach where we start with data. We really feel like having a strong data foundation and a strategy for that is the key to success. We leverage that data to develop marketing to audiences where we're leveraging first-party data. We're also providing competitive and unique third-party data and combining that to develop audiences that we would target, suppressions possibly, even personas. And then that actually kind of falls or takes us into the intelligence side, where our data scientists will analyze and leverage the data strategy to help us develop goal-specific models. So those models are things like lookalike models or lifetime value models, also to help us develop customer personas as well. And then from there, we look at how do we activate this through our marketing channels, taking an omni-channel marketing approach, of course, to look at things like media planning or media planning strategies, creative, ad operations, campaign management, whether that's direct mail, email, display, and social, and doing all that to help us really focus our efforts and develop a robust learning agenda as well. And then results, we take a look at that where we really provide that performance reporting across the different programs or marketing programs that we've implemented, whether we also want to build some custom offline reporting for attribution solutions. And that really helps us measure and understand our results. And then from there, those results are kind of fed back into that intelligence phase where it helps improve just the models and things like that that we've developed. So as Jen mentioned, at the top of the call, we all know the importance of testing. And a lot of you have joined today probably with that in mind. And we all know that it's important to do. It teaches us about our audiences, our content, and even our operations. I love this quote from Steve Jobs, where he says, there's always one more thing to learn. Testing helps us make sure we are making our decisions smarter, just not harder, and also finding new ways to achieve our goals, right? And so it really kind of pressure tests our assumptions and the beliefs and strategies that we've been utilizing up to this point. So the benefits of testing really span beyond this list, but there are benefits to having an intentional test plan. Having one definitely helps us develop that learning mindset and, dare I say, allow us to, even for every email campaign or marketing campaign, allow us to find a testing opportunity. There's always something to test, but with that testing mindset, whether it's something small scale that helps you avoid risk, or whether it's just trying a new channel or creative or an offer, it allows you to see what really resonates with your customers and allows you to develop that iterative testing plan that I talked about. We also get to learn what doesn't work. Sometimes we're focused on the things that we want to work, but there is learning that comes from things that don't work as we're testing. And it helps us figure out, well, what's our next approach? So it's all a part of learning, and the benefits are definitely well worth the effort. So I'm going to pass it to you, Jen. Let's get ready.
All right, so this is, I think, our favorite part, and hopefully will be yours too. We really want to dig in and show you some of the tests that we have conducted. And, I think you're going to be surprised by some of them. Some of them you're going to know right off the bat. But just to get ready for our game time, we'll let you know that after I go over the kind of business case and the background of the client. We'll show you what our test was, and then you'll have an opportunity to vote and guess which one you thought was the winner, and then we'll share the results of the test and see how you guys stacked up. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so hopefully everyone can see the screen okay. Let me just give you a lay of the land here because each of these 15 tests will lay out the same way. So over on the left, you'll see kind of the name of the test, in this case, Remail Insight, so that we were really trying to figure out if a remail strategy was working for this client. We'll give you an overview, and this will be available after the call too, so you can go back and refer to these slides, so don't feel like you need to screenshot every single thing. We also have learning applications, so we work across all digital and direct channels. In this case, the learning application will say email, but you'll see as we go through that some of these tests, even though we conducted in one channel, might be applicable to other channels too. So keep an eye over there in the gray box for that. All right, so let's get started. This is our first test. So American Heart Association is one of our clients on the nonprofit side. They came to us several years ago with the goal of revamping their online fundraising program. And as any of you who work in nonprofit or donate to charities know, end of year giving is a really big deal for them. So they like to go into that season with a really good handle on what is going to be the most successful to drive towards their fundraising goals for the year. So in this particular test, we wanted to test how engagement and conversion rate was impacted by a focused CTA and a remail message to previous openers. So everyone got the test A, or I'm sorry, email A on the left. And then for people who opened but maybe didn't donate or engage further in A, we sent B, a remail campaign, and wanted to see how that performed. So I will let you kind of take a look at those and see. I'm sorry, another thing, we tested this across 3 different segments. It was version for each segment. We're just showing run right now. So can you guess which of these email campaigns performed better? All right, so you've got, hopefully you can see the pop-up on your screen. There should be bubbles for A and B. All right, give you another second. All right, so let's take a look at the results first, and then we'll see how you guys did. Okay, so the remail campaign was super successful. As you can imagine, we're kind of throwing you a softball here. We had a 3% lift in open rate in the remail campaign and a 15% lift in click to open rate. So hoping that most of you guys got that one right. Can we see the results? Great, 82%. So you guys are off to a great start. Let's try and get into something a little bit trickier. So we're going to go through a couple examples of some American Heart tests, and we'll look at some other clients after that.
And just to add, Jen, this test was interesting with the remail because, for some, the audience health and how does sending something again to an audience, this one went to previous openers of an original email. And sometimes there's, an idea or assumption there that maybe audience health might be at risk if you do that. So testing this concept or this approach with your customers is definitely helpful. But it's interesting to see that we were able to get a lift on engagement and really drive some incremental activity from an audience that may not have been ready to engage with that original email, but with this remail, we were able to get some additional engagement there with click activity. So definitely,
go ahead, Erica.
It's okay. Just definitely something to test with your customers.
Yeah, and for anyone who has kids or who's tried to get kids to eat vegetables, I think they say you need to introduce them to broccoli something like 17 times before they like it. So don't be afraid of remail, but definitely test into it and see how it affects your response rates, unsubscribes, and overall audience health. Maybe not 17 remails, but in this case, one worked great. All right, it looks like somebody raised their hand. I don't know if we need to. Okay. Pop in the chat if you're having any issues with this, either with the pop-ups, the quiz, or if it's a question that can hold till later, just let us know too. All right, next test number 2. Okay, so again, like I mentioned in the beginning, learning applications here. This is a landing page test that we conducted, but you could do something very similar across email. In this case for American Heart, the question was, what is the ultimate landing page experience? So over on the left in A, you'll see kind of their business as usual, their BAU layout, very basic. I'm sure you've seen tons of websites that look like this. Strong, text over a red background, which is the AHA color, little image, but tons of copy. This is kind of how they had been doing things for a while. Then we wanted to test a few different versions. Now, this was during the time of COVID. So you'll see for B, we have this animated, I don't know, is she animated, Erica? We have problems with this lady animating. She is animated, but I don't know that I'm seeing that right now. So kind of a really disruptive image, strong headline. So that would be test B. And then C, as I mentioned, because this was during the time of COVID when we were all on our team screens and seeing multiple people, we wanted to sort of play on that and show another full image with the remote work experience that gave a little personality to maybe an otherwise bit dry brand at times. So I'll give you guys a chance. Let's pop up the poll and see which one of these landing pages you thought had the highest performance. Okay, give it another minute. All right, now let's take a look at the results, see if you guessed correctly. All right, so version B was our performer, or our highest performer, with a pretty astonishing 38% higher click-through rate. So, doing things business as usual does not always pay off. You can really make a huge impact by making small changes. I think the copy is very similar underneath the hero image here, but that animated hero really drove a lift in click-through rate. And imagine the difference in fundraising dollars if they had gone out with A instead of B. 38% lift in click-through rate. I don't know that we have the back-end data on how much difference in the donations that drove, but you can imagine that it would have been significant for that nonprofit. You want to take a look at the results? Okay, yeah, so kind of evenly split between B and C. It looks like 3% guessed A, 54% for B, and 43% for C. So yeah, I think your gut instincts are right. I think C did perform pretty well too, better than the BAU, but definitely B was a clear winner for AHA. Anything you wanted to add there, Erica, before we go to our next test?
No, I think this was just a good test as far as like once you've created your personas to then test creative and which creative approach is going to really move the needle here. And this is just an example of different ways that you can test your creative from, simple hero module imagery where you have the copy on the side and an image on the other side versus something more full span. And the animation is subtle here. It's just kind of animating the words under the image. And option B, so even something as subtle as that can be tested. And then option C was still also something more relevant with that time, where it's more like a Zoom image where people are just more familiar with that at that particular time. So it's just really interesting to test what kind of content is going to move the needle with those different audience groups that you're creating.
All right, let's move on to test number 3. So this is a different client. Florida Blue is a Florida-based insurance company like Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they came to us with the goal of really increasing their enrollments across all digital channels. This is a test that we conducted on the landing page, but it can be applicable to email or display too. And so CTAs have a special place in my heart. It's usually 1 to 3 words and just a few words. And as a writer, I like lots and lots of words, but it is always amazing to me what a difference those couple of words can make on engagement. So with our hope to help them increase enrollments, we decided to take their normal Explore plans as the control CTA and test it against 2 different versions. So test A was just shop plans, just simply changing the word Explore to shop. And test B is learn more. I hate learn more as a CTA very, very much. I hope that you're only using it when absolutely necessary, which I guess is kind of giving away the fact that this one is not, that learn more is definitely not the winner. But between shop plans and explore plans, like such a simple word, I'm really curious what you guys think about which one of those won, control or test. So we'll pop that up. All right, so again, test A is shop plans, B is learn more, and then last but not least, the control. All right, let's take a look at the results. All right, so our shop plan CTA had a 2% lift in clicks and an astonishing 14% lift in the rate of customers who requested quotes. A 4% lower bounce rate, and if you don't know what bounce rate is, it's basically just dropping off the page after they click without any further engagement here. So again, super simple tests that you can conduct that could make a staggering impact to the results that you will get.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, so the test B, learn more, did underperform when we compared it to control and driving clicks. So explore plans actually drove more when compared to test B in clicks, but test B and the control were actually on par as far as other funnel metrics that you see up here. So just testing again is it's interesting to see which one drives more engagement. Learn more, there is a place for it, but trying to test into what kind of content is best fits for the learn more type of softer call to action versus something that's more direct like shop plans.
All right, let's look at our next test. Okay, another one, last one with Florida Blue. So in this case, we were using data to try and personalize, see if we could personalize the message to people who were recently moving to Florida. So you'll see our control at the top, Medicare plans in Florida with the benefits that matter most, just kind of a generic thing. Really, calling out Florida. So maybe that's a little bit personal, but really not associating it to the individual people, acknowledging that we know that they're recently moving. So our test plan, new home in Florida, you may be eligible for a new Medicare plan. Same imagery, same layout, same style, just a slightly different message. So we'll pop up our quiz and see if you guys can guess the result. Controls at the top and test at the bottom. All right. Hopefully that's enough time. Let's take a look and see what the results were. So this is a pretty interesting one. We actually saw 1% fewer clicks on the test message at the bottom, but it yielded 58% more qualified shoppers. So that's another thing just to keep in mind when you're testing is really what is your key KPI. If you were just looking at clicks, this might have looked like a failure, but 58% increase in qualified shoppers is a pretty huge win for Florida Blue.
Yeah, and lower bounce rate too. And that personalization tactic here, you can see the learning application can be across other channels. So sometimes email will leverage as a really great testing ground. It's a low-cost channel. And then we carry that knowledge over into other channels like landing pages or app. And so this is one that definitely can apply across different channels. And depending on how you're setting up your test and your resources, you may pick one or the other to start and then carry that test over into another place.
All right, our behind the scenes lady just pinged me and let me know that we didn't share the results. So let's take a look and see how you guys did. Okay, so we're seeing 81% did vote for the test as the winner. So great job, everyone. All right, sorry, we do have one more Florida Blue. Let's take a look at this. This is our next test is something that you probably are familiar with, countdown timers. Either you're using them or you've seen them in different campaigns. So we really just wanted to test and see what the impact was of including a countdown timer to, kind of incite a sense of urgency and try and get people to act a little bit more quickly. So the test was really with and without the countdown timer. And we will take let's pop up the poll and see what you guys think. All right, hopefully your fingers are snappy. Let's talk about the results for this. because I think one of the things you can, yeah, close the poll. Okay. I think one of the things that whenever we talk about countdown timers, there's a time and a place for them. Haha. In this case, the countdown timer really did incite a sense of urgency, gave us a 7% lift in clicks, and then a 9% lift in qualified shoppers, along with that lower bounce rate. So I like countdown timers when they're relevant. There's a lot of different technology that you can use, like third parties that can help you implement these. And I think they're really nice, like on a campaign by campaign basis where it makes sense. Eric, anything else you wanted to add there?
Nope, not for this one.
Okay. All right. Moving on to a client that Erica and I have very dear and near to our hearts. Marriott Bonvoy is a partner that we've had for over 10 years. We're working across their email marketing program. Marriott has about 30 different hotel brands that live underneath them, and we do work across a lot of those brands as well as the overall loyalty program. So we're going to look at a bunch of tests that cover the span of that client. This first one is for the Ritz-Carlton, one of their premier luxury brands. And we wanted to test subject lines. You know, with Marriott, as with many companies, we're sending emails out on a daily basis. In addition to that, your email box is probably crowded with millions of other things at the time. So the Ritz-Carlton really wanted to figure out how do they stand out, how to make themselves stand out in the inbox. So pretty simple split subject line test here. For email, but again, can be used for social or display. So the first one is a branded subject line inside the Ritz-Carlton with a colon and then teasing the content that's inside. The second one is just a little bit intriguing, removing the branding from the front and seeing if maybe a shorter subject line performed better. And then C, kind of making a baby of the two of those and shortening the inside, without the rest of it. Resort Paradise closer to home. So we really, I don't think, had any idea how this would perform, and really curious to see what you guys think was the winner. So we'll pop up our poll. Give you a minute. Okay, we can close the poll. All right, let's take a look at the winner. So despite, I think, what my gut instinct was, this longer branded subject line had an 8% lift in open rate, which is a huge win for that subject line. And it's something that if any of you are on our Ritz-Carlton email list, you're probably still seeing today, because we have repeated the test a couple of times over the years, and it's still the winner. So a little bit longer than what we typically see as winning subject lines. But I think having the all caps intro helps people to sort of like create that awareness. It stands out. You're not seeing a lot of all caps in your subject lines. And and we're still using it now a year or so later. Anything else you wanted to add there, Erica?
Yeah, and it looks like the results, you guys were guessing the same way with option A with 50% voting for that particular one. I think it's interesting too that option B, that a lot of you also thought that could have been the winner, intrigue. I think one of our assumptions was, yes, that could have been the winner across our test. We've seen intrigue really perform well as far as whether it's in a subject line or a headline. So hopefully, Jen, I'm not giving away any of your other tests coming up, but intrigue is definitely one. I can understand why many of you voted for that one. But what subject lines are good too is like that learning application you see, we have social and display. Subject lines can also be translated into a headline. So testing headline, subject lines, they kind of go hand in hand a little bit to me, because, you do have to be mindful of character length and really kind of hitting home that main message that's really going to drive someone to click or open your email.
And I also just wanted to call out too this the green box where we say branded, intrigue, and direct. Like, we tag everything when we test, like whether it's an image or a subject line or a headline. Like, we love tags, and the thing that is really useful about tags is, we can categorize branded subject lines as something that works really well for this particular audience. Now, just because branded one for Ritz-Carlton doesn't mean that it's always going to win for your campaigns. Every audience is different. I hope that goes without saying. And even within the Marriott landscape, the way that our Ritz-Carlton audience performs might be a little bit different than some of the other audiences that we market to. So, just keep in mind that testing across different audiences and different campaigns, different campaign types and creative, don't sit still and just assume that because it won once in this place, it's going to always win across anything that you're doing. All right, let's go to our next Marriott example. So Homes and Villas by Marriott International is another one of the brands that we've done some testing for. In this particular case, so Homes and Villas is sort of like the Airbnb competitor that lives underneath the Marriott umbrella. So this is a test that we conducted over COVID, or kind of shortly after COVID, when people started to travel again. As you can imagine, in the travel industry, COVID really hit hard, and the recovery process that we worked through with our team at Marriott was a lot of, it's the first time for any of us kind of trying to figure out what the right message is. We wanted the travelers, the guests, to feel comfortable. So this test, we went with a loyalty benefits messaging. Free nights, earning and the ability to earn and redeem points for free nights is a really big push across Marriott, and has been a tried and true successful marketing tactic. But with COVID and all of the different cleaning protocols that were put into place, we thought maybe the brand assurance message would work better. So we tested these side by side, similar pictures, similar icon style, similar copy, except for with that headline and kind of messaging there. So we'll pull up the poll and see what you guys thought was the winner. Loyalty benefits is A, and then the brand assurance message is B. All right, let's see which one was the winner. So the brand assurance, the kind of cleanliness, professionally clean, expertly managed, had a 5% lift in click-through rate. And this was another one that I thought was a little bit surprising. Usually the word free will blow anything else out of the water if it makes it through the spam filters. So was really kind of intrigued by this, and it created a sort of waterfall effect across some other communications that we put out. It was just at the right time. It was a message that people really needed to hear in order to feel comfortable traveling again. All right, ooh, pretty evenly split. So we have 45% for A and 55% for B.
And again, the timeliness of option B, I think, is really what played into it being a stronger performer than option A. If we were to retest this now with a different option B, it would be interesting to see if something else was just as compelling, or because of just, where we are today, if going back to earning that free night kind of messaging will resonate more.
All right, we might try and go through some of the rest of these a little bit quicker because I'm just keeping an eye on the time. This is a pretty easy one. So Marriott Traveler is the inspiration kind of newsletter for Marriott Bonvoy. It's really like an upper level travel inspiration newsletter. And so we wanted to test 3 different headline styles. And first one we've got is a listicle style. When we say listicle, we just mean numbers. So 11 travel hacks our experts swear by. All of these driving to the exact same page, same image, same CTA. Our question style, which is another, again, going back to the tagging, question style, tried and true winner across lots of different marketing that we've put out over the years. And then action oriented. So something that really kind of gives people an idea of what they're going to get when they click through to the landing page, save time and money with our travel expert tips. So let's pop up the poll and see what you guys think. All right, let's take a look at the results. So 16% lift in click-through rate for our listicle style. And now we have seen listicle style work well in headlines. We've seen it win in subject lines. We've seen it not just in this campaign, but across lots and lots of different campaigns. But it's not always the winner. So in this case, we know for this audience, listicle is something that we really kind of rely on well. And it looks like you guys also like the listicle style. We've got 53% guessing A, 30 followed by 37% with C. All right, next test. Okay, so same sort of thing, but instead of doing the headline, now we're looking at the CTA. So two different messages, same exact image, same exact copy. The only difference would be this get inspired CTA, if you can see that done on the left for A, or see all 9, I believe it is, for B. So really trying to figure out, again, how that CTA drives performance. So go ahead and make your guess, A or B. All right, let's look at the results. So CL9, again, Listicle is a favorite, 128% lift in clicks and a 91% lift in conversion. And it looks like most of you, although it's kind of evenly split, most of you did choose B as well. So definitely, if you're going to start testing tomorrow and you have an opportunity to use Listicle as one of the options in that test, where it makes sense, then absolutely you can see a big impact.
Yeah,
From
and
that.
depending on the campaign, it might vary too. I think that's why if you have a technology where you can actually continue to optimize ongoing and using those tags that Jen talked about earlier to help you, at least be able to change the copy, but adhering to whatever tag or whatever approach you're testing and doing that multiple times, you'll start to see if there's an actual pattern of engagement with certain types of copy or certain types of an approach.
And I think that response rate will differ too across personas. If you do any persona targeting or audience segmentation, there may be some groups that respond really well to listicles and not others, but definitely worth considering in your test plans. All right, next up, another Marriott example. So as I mentioned before, I'm a writer at heart and I love all the words. We all love all the words, but sometimes less is more. At least that was our thinking. Like, is it better to get all the information out there and provide that inspiration within the content of the email? Or is it better to kind of keep it shorter and maybe a little bit more intriguing and drive to the landing page? And again, it really depends on what your success metric is too. So long versus short, let's pop up the poll and see what you guys think. All right, and we can take a look at the results. So in this case, short definitely drove a higher click-through rate of 9% lift in clicks. Don't know if you want to add anything to that, Erica. I know we're looking at the results here. It looks like 84% of you chose B2, so good gut instincts. All right, test number 11, we're rounding out the end. Okay, so as much as I love words, my designers love to design, and how you display those words, how you display that content is just as important as what you say within it. So in this case, we took a module that we've sort of been using from time to time throughout this communication. I think this is a Ritz-Carlton, part of a Ritz-Carlton email that we had done. So on the left, you're going to one article, one main black CTA button. On the right, we thought, well, maybe we'll try and break it out and talk about the different types of content that you're going to see within the article and give multiple places to click without the strong CTA button. So let's take a look at the poll and see what you guys think as far as which one performed better. All right, let's look at the results. So surprising to some of us and maybe not others, 182% lift in clicks with that more sort of visual 4-pack of images, again, going to the same article. And it looks like, yeah, you guys too, 86% of you chose B. So I think some of the people on our team thought, these big black CTA buttons, everyone is sort of used to clicking that way. Are people going to know whether they can click on an image or the text link underneath? Turns out absolutely preferred the version on the right.
Yeah, and in mobile, people are used to tapping on different images and words that they see. So this one really rendered well in mobile and gave more opportunity to capture that click, right? So sometimes it's just testing something brand new versus tweaking an existing module.
All right, our last test for Marriott Bonvoy. So as much as I love words, our designers love images and they generally think bigger the better. But there was also the kind of question about whether or not getting down to the CTA, getting down to the content might drive engagement a little bit higher. So on the left, we've got same exact image, just a shorter version of it. And then on the right, we have the headline over this large, tall, sort of beautiful image. We can pop up our poll. So A would be the short image, B would be the tall image. Which one drove a higher engagement? Okay, let's see what the results were. So in this case too, shorter copy worked and the shorter image worked as well. We have seen different results in different tests that we've done, so I wouldn't say that this is, how you should go forth with your imagery, but the short one did work better for this particular audience. And it looks like, ooh, we stumped you finally. So we've got 59% people chose the tall image over on the right. And
there's other iterations of this test that you can do as well, which we've done, where you move the CTA into the actual image, where you can test a taller image, but with your call to action still higher up in the message. So you can take this and expand on it in so many different ways. This was just really our first pass at trying to test short image versus tall image.
We've got just a couple more. C's Candies is another client of ours. They've been with us for over 15 years. It's a very high volume client. They're sending out emails at least once a day. And so we wanted to take a step back, and instead of just producing a lot of content, let's spend a month where we really figure out if we're doing it the right way. So in this particular instance, they had a Lollapalooza, kind of a play on the famous music festival, a month during July. And Shop Now is a CTA that we just churn out time and time again. It's very clear and direct. You'll see it across tons of retail emails like this. We thought, well, what if we make it sound a little bit more fun and maybe not as clear? So we've got Shop Now versus Lollies, please. Vote for your winner. All right, let's take a look at the results. 10% higher click-through rate for that fun sort of Lollies Please CTA. And it looks like, yeah, 57%.
Yeah.
Yep. So definitely it pays to play around with your CTAs.
Yeah, and definitely measuring post-click too, right? Like, was there an increase on purchases or whatever your call to action may be? Account creations or signups or anything like that is definitely the ultimate goal, right? That you're looking to drive traffic from the email to the landing pages to get them to convert. So making sure you kind of follow that all the way through to see which one of these CTAs actually drove more qualified audience.
All right, second to last one, we've got HP. So HP is another one of our clients. We do a lot of work with them on their Instant Ink subscription service program. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see sort of our BAU program benefits messaging that really talks about the value and savings that you can get signing up for their Instant Ink delivery. And on the left, we wanted to try something a little bit new. So for A, we've got the savings calculator. You can see the blue, yellow, and pink will show you kind of how much money you could possibly save. And then we've got some iconography that details the benefits of the program too. So just at a quick visual, we can, I don't think we have, actually I'm getting a message, we don't have a poll for this one, or is it the next one? Oh, we do have a poll for this one. Nope. We're looking at, this is the C's Candies one that you've got here. Sorry, it might be mislabeled, but let's do A, if you think the savings calculator worked better, and then B, if you think the program benefits worked better. And let's take a look at the results. The results of the test, my friend. Okay, so we were actually a little bit surprised on this one. We loved the animation on the left. We thought it was a nice visual way of showing the annual savings, but 47% increase in enrollments from our kind of traditional program benefits messaging on the right. And that's just another important point to note is like, you can, if you have no choice, trust your gut. But if you have a choice to test, you can really be surprised sometimes at the difference in response rate that you can get.
Yeah, the results look like the majority of the group here thought the same way we did when we approached the test. So 83% selected option A, thinking that was the winner. And so we were actually on the same page with you. So this is why testing is great. It tests those assumptions that we are making with the marketing that we're sending.
And the last one that we wanted to show you, we're not gonna poll you, but we'll just kind of talk through. We're coming kind of full circle back to American Heart Association, and we love this slide and just wanted to share it with you to kind of exemplify the importance of a multi-channel marketing mix. So with American Heart, we wanted to test really what combination of channels and messaging will yield the highest amount of donations. So we created a bunch of these different test cells and put them out into the market and wanted to see kind of what we could expect from these different mixes. And if you click through to the results, don't think this will come as a huge surprise, but yeah, so this multi-mix, I don't know, Eric, if you have more information on this that you want to talk through.
Yeah, so overall, this was the winner at driving conversion rate, but we did see some differences when we started looking at the segment level. And so really the recommendation is to take this test and then to start doing it more at a segment level to see for those key segments, what media mix is going to drive higher conversion than another. Because it will vary depending on the audiences that you have.
So
All right.
hopefully that was a fun game for you. Hopefully, I'm curious if you guys feel like your guts were, you had mostly correct answers or mostly not, but thank you so much for playing along with us. And then let's get into some kind of actionable where to start.
Next steps. Yeah. So, and also hopefully it sparks some ideas for you for future testing opportunities, right? So now that we are going to focus on where to start, it can be overwhelming, right? With all the different options for how to test. And so what we want to present you with are just some simple ways. There's 3 simple ways or optimizations. We call them the 3 C's. That might help you get started. So consumer optimization, this is where you're really looking to improve your customer engagement and their overall experience. So you can be testing targeting, you can test or tweak your suppressions, you can develop personas. And you saw some of that in the test examples we shared today. Or you can look at creative optimizations, which we also shared some examples of that today, where you're looking for ways to improve the content that you're showing and that customer experience, whether it's through imagery, copy, different design elements that you want to try. This is where you get to learn what content performs well and what's driving your engagement. And then the third is conversion optimization, right? This is where you look at how to implement different tactics that are going to help you increase your conversion on your primary goals. So is that trying to drive purchases, signups, account creation? So really, you want to start your process by deciding which of the areas you want to focus on. And then maybe you try a new area once a quarter, but hopefully this helps get you started on an area where you want to first start testing into. And then once you have that first area that you want to start testing into, then you want to think through like, what is your approach? I know we've all heard crawl, walk, run, and typically that has you starting at the crawl phase and then moving forward. But what we're presenting here is really a more test and refine approach where you're letting your performance drive your move forward or go forward opportunities. So some of you might be able to start with the quick wins, something small, but with a big payoff. So subject lines are simple, but they actually have a big payoff, right? The more eyes you get on your creative or your message is going to help bring more into the funnel for that click activity and hopefully driving conversion. Or do you start with iterative testing, right? So maybe you're doing this across a couple of your channels. Maybe there's a generative AI tool that you can use to help refine your copy. Or some integrated testing tools within the email service provider platforms that you're using, for example, if you're looking at email. Again, we kind of tend to talk about email because it really is a low-cost channel, and it's a good place to start with testing that you can carry over those insights into other channels. Or lastly, you could start with an orchestrated approach where you are testing across multiple channels. Maybe you have machine learning that's going to help you drive just that iterative testing approach, and also multivariate testing where you can start to, like with some of the landing page options where we're using technology to drive more of what was winning to new visitors coming to the site. So once you have your approach, I think you're pretty much set. And then we're just going to leave you with a few tips, right? So we like to start with a question. What problem are you trying to solve? Am I able to drive more leads with fewer submission fields, for example? These are questions that are going to help drive what you're testing and also how you're going to approach your analysis. Also, like testing frequently, right? We talked about that earlier too, where sometimes you're only able to test once, but if you can test more than once, the same approach, maybe not the same exact words, but the same approach multiple times, again, going back to the tagging option that we talked about, it's really going to help you see seasonality if you're able to test across several months, or you can see just different engagement patterns across segments if you're testing multiple times. That's really where you get to look at the patterns that start to develop. And especially if you're reaching a statistical significance, then you can pretty much bet the next time going forward, you're going to yield a very similar result. And then lastly, like tracking, that's pretty key to definitely track what you're testing, how you're testing it, what are the top level learnings that you have. And then that's really going to help inform future testing opportunities. So we do have a few minutes for question and answer.
Yeah, I can
So
read
we'll
some
just
of
open
them.
up for that.
I've been trying to answer some for you in the chat, Erica, but let me read, let's see, let me read out one for you. What is the ideal time frame to conduct an A/B test so that it's statistically relevant? And I think this probably is really more not for email so much as maybe landing page or social display where you can leave something out in the market for longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So the time frame to measure something that will be statistically significant. So I would look at, it depends on which channel you're doing this with, right? So there's usually a way to measure the volume, whether it's your audience size or how much of data you need to collect in order to measure statistical significance. There's actually a calculation for that will help you determine then the time period or how long you would need to run your test. So I would recommend, if you do have like an internal business intelligence team, or there's some online calculators out there that will help you be able to do that pre-work to say, I need to have an audience size this big in order to reach a statistical significance. And then that's going to help drive how long you're going to need to run your campaign. So if it's like a triggered email, for example, or if it's traffic you're receiving on your website, you'll know on average, I get this much traffic on my site. So that means I would need to have at least this run for like a week or 2 weeks in order to be able to get to the amount of traffic I need in order to reach statistical significance. Or if it's a triggered email, you'll know I need to make sure I wait for a month in order to, or maybe it's 2 weeks in order to get to the size audience you need to then be able to do your analysis.
So I think we've got a few more questions. Actually, do you want to move to the next slide? Let me talk about that quickly, and then we'll keep answering questions. If anyone needs to drop, go ahead, but we can stay on for a few more minutes. So just wanted to call out, you know, we'd obviously would love to talk to anyone who's interested in learning more about what we do here at Data Axle. We do offer a free creative optimization audit. So what that means is we'd love to get kind of a selection of the creative that you're kind of interested in, our POV on. We can talk to you about any testing and learning that you might be, that might kind of yield some quick wins for you. We can also talk to you about like design or content or anything that you're looking at as far as improving your program this year. So we got a QR code up on the screen. If you're interested, reach out to us. In the meantime, let's see if we can get some more questions before you all have
Yeah,
to
I have a couple here. So one is, in your view, what's the best way to report or communicate results with clients? Do you see they care about details or just the KPI result? Yeah, really good question. The best way, honestly, the way that we approach it is transparency. And some clients that we work with want to see how the sausage is made, and then others just want to see the results. And we try to provide initially with our teams that we work with a combination of both. We skinny down on how the sausage is made. But we also lean in on really quick, high level. This is what worked, and this is what didn't work, and then this is the go forward recommendation. Whether we test it again, or this is the winner that has been proven, and now we're building upon that particular winning insight for the next round of testing. And so you kind of have to have that conversation and know your audience a little bit to determine how much of the details do you share. Sometimes they just want to know, did it work or did it not work? Or do I have to do this test again? Or what do I do differently now in my messaging? And then there's another question that says, who's coming up with these tests? Is it creative, marketing, leadership? I would say it's all of the above, right? Because you want everyone to have a testing mindset, because that's just going to make your tests more rich and robust, and a really well thought out learning agenda, right? Because we like to start with these brainstorming opportunities where everybody gets a chance to share all the things that they have ever wanted to know or learn. And then we scale back from there. We try to align that to our corporate objectives, our business goals. What are we trying to achieve this year? Do we have the resources, the funding in order to do so? And we then are able to prioritize what those test plans are going to look like for the year. Everything else gets parking lot for a future test time period. But you want everyone to lean in on their test ideas, because honestly, leadership might have goals that they're trying to drive, or they might have a personal preference, and you want to test into some of that. Like, there are assumptions out there that we want to test. There are certain strategies that you've been doing for a very long time that maybe we need to test those. And then your creative team, Jen and I, we just vibe all day long on like all the new things that she's thinking and seeing out in the marketplace from a creative approach with design or copy. And, we work well together to find room to refresh our designs, right? And test into new templates or new design modules that you kind of saw earlier with those test examples. So you want everybody to be a part of that conversation.
All right. We do have some additional questions, but we can get back to you guys individually. I know we're at time. I just wanted to thank you all so much for staying on, for listening to us, for letting us geek out on this thing that we just love to do every single day. And yeah, we'll be in touch, but you know where to find us. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.